Hi, thanks for joining me. For starters, Happy New Year, and welcome to my huge post-holiday pickup epic extravaganza of extravagantness. I have a whole bunch of stuff here, so this is probably going to go pretty long, but I guess I want to start off by just giving you guys a little hint of something that is coming up here, just to give you guys an idea of why I'm going in certain direction with some of these games. So here it is. Just keep that in mind, and I'm actually going to start off with the oldest thing. I like to go in chronological order. I'm going to start off with a handful of Atari games. Not something I normally talk about a whole lot, but I have a lot of stuff here, and I've been doing some repairs on some 2600s, and my heart really lies with the 7800. But I started remembering some of those old games that I played, and I wanted some to help test them out. So I grabbed Berserk, which is one I remember fondly, and I wanted basically just a handful of other games, so I grabbed a lot, and it had a few things in it. We have Pac-Man, which I remember playing back in the day, Boxing, which I never did play, but that's actually not half bad for what it is, Combat, which I always remember playing fondly, but it really is a two-player game. You kind of need to be playing it with two people. And I believe it also had Atlantis in it, which is actually a really cool game. I was pleasantly surprised by that one. I like it quite a bit. I also sought out a handful of other games that I either remember playing or wanted to play. One is Frogger. That's a classic. I also grabbed Moon Patrol, which this is a really fun port of that. I've I've tried it out and had a lot of fun with it. River Raid, which I hear a lot of people talk about, have fond memories of. I think I was expecting something, I don't know, a little more from this. I started playing it and I was kind of like, it's alright. And Space Cavern, which is actually pretty cool. I do like this one quite a bit. So anyway, those are some Atari 2600 games. Not a lot to say about those. Those are little, you sit down and play them for 5 minutes kind of a thing. But it's fun. I gotta mess around with it a little bit more. I actually think the 2600s I have play the 2600 games better than the 7800s that I have. I don't know if that's just something going on with the 7800s or what. So anyway, I'm gonna play around with that a little bit more. Next, I'm gonna do just a short stack of anime, and the rest of it is games. So for starters, and this reminds me, congrats again to Sporadic Spacebar for winning the Appleseed Blu-ray. I went ahead and picked up, this was actually, I was doing a kind of a thrift store check, and I just ran across Appleseed, the first, not the first one, but the first CG one that they did. This was from, like, 2000, wow, it says 2004. 2004, 2005. I thought this was later than that, but there it is. I did watch this, and I remember enjoying it, but, thinking it was, like, these could be better, but they're still good for what they are, I guess. So, it's sort of like, this Appleseed is better than no Appleseed, without a doubt. And, I thought it was cool. So I'm happy to pick that up again. Next up, I was in Maine, and I ended up swinging by a used game store up there. And I picked up some used games there, but they also had some DVDs, so I had to check for anime, and I found this, Cyborg 009, or whatever you want to call that. I've seen stuff about this kicking around, but I haven't really known what it is, and I guess I still don't, to tell you the truth. I don't even know if this is like a, Osamu Tezuka kind of thing, or I don't know that it is. Anyway, it's some like older series, and this seems like a reboot. It does have episodes on it, so it's probably OAVs, and there's like kind of a bunch of them. 10 maybe. Anyway, it seems kind of cool, so I just grabbed it. It was cheap, so I just wanted to check it out and see what it was. Next up on Blu-ray, I got Non Non Biori. Like I said before, this is just so charming and fun and heartwarming, and I really like watching this. I've already watched, not the Blu-ray, but I've watched it previously a couple times, and I did start the Blu-ray. I watched the first episode again as soon as I got this, because it's just, it's great, so I had to go ahead and pick that one up. And next, these ones, I'm realizing might be a little bit dangerous, because I try not to buy stuff for myself that I think anyone else might be getting me. The rest of this stuff, no one is going to get me here. But I had a gift card, and I ended up picking up these two things because I'm so excited that they just came out. Princess Mononoke and Kiki's Delivery Service. These are easily two of my favorite Ghibli movies. In fact, Kiki's Delivery Service is pretty much my favorite. I can just watch this and I don't get sick of it. I don't know, it's just such a cute story. Princess Mononoke also, I think I felt like it was a little overhyped when it first came out, but watching it again, like later on, it really had such impact for me. I really like it so much. So anyway, really glad that Disney is, getting their act together and actually releasing some more of those. So I'm knocking on wood that, one of my friends didn't get me this. I think we still have one gift exchange to do, but these are actually wrapped, so I could bring them back if I had to. It's not a big deal. So now we're on to a bunch of video games, and here is something that these were all from that used game store in Maine. I was really glad to find that. It's really fun to do a little bit of game hunting, while you're out and about if you end up having to travel somewhere. And I was just on the lookout for some like arcadey style games or just like weird funky things. And it seems like one of the things that is abundant and relatively affordable right now is the PlayStation 2. So I found this one here from Natsume. It's called Finny the Fish and the Seven Waters. Just a really unique title, a really unique looking game. From what I can tell, this looks like you play as a fish, almost in like a fishing game. So people are trying to fish you out of the water, and you're trying to avoid being fished up. You're also like running around and like catching bugs and I don't know, like collecting things in the water. It almost seems like maybe a little bit like Boku no Natsuyasumi if you were playing as one of the fish in that or something. It seems pretty quirky and unique. One of those things I'm impressed came out here, and just really curious to check it out. I haven't really researched it. I don't really know much about it. Next up is Midway Arcade Treasures. I felt a little weird grabbing this because I do have the same thing. I think it might be called Midway Arcade Treasures or something along those lines for the PlayStation 3. But doing a little research, come to find out that there are some games, a handful of games on these collections for the PlayStation 2 that aren't on that PlayStation 3 collection. So, being that I'm kind of bolstering my arcade games, specifically for PS2 in particular, I wanted to go ahead and grab this. Just, great stuff that I really enjoy, like Joust, Paperboy, Rampage, there's all kinds of neat stuff on there. So, next up is, of course, something else I found in the wild here, the second volume of that, Midway Arcade Treasures 2. And, and just FYI, I got a lot of these things with, like, gift cards and stuff. I didn't get a ton of that, but I got, like, 3 gift cards, pretty much, and they all went to retro games here. But this is a great collection, too. We've got, like, Mortal Kombat 2, Mortal Kombat 3, Gauntlet 2, just all kinds of cool stuff on here. Xenophobe. So yeah, really glad to have that one. Just I'm gonna enjoy. I'm already enjoying on my CRT TV going back and playing these arcade games here. So I found this one too, and I decided to take a chance on it. World Heroes Anthology. This is a SNK Playmore thing here, and I never played these games, but I decided, instead of trying to mess around with getting one of the Neo Geo X's or whatever they're called, I wanted to just kind of get stuff like this, the collections on PS2, the downloadable games that you can grab and stuff like that. So I was very happy to find that. Additionally, I grabbed Fatal Fury Battle Archives Volume 1. You know, again, I really haven't played a lot of these old SNK fighters. I did play King of Fighters, and there is a Fatal Fury on the Dreamcast. I didn't play very much of that, but I know I picked it up a few times. And let's see, what else? I feel like there's something else I'm forgetting. Oh, well, I guess Capcom versus SNK is probably where I've gotten more of my SNK fighting in. So, well, and Samurai Showdown too, a little bit of that. So anyway, I'm familiar with these, but I just, I never, played a bunch of them, so I'm actually really curious. I played some of Fatal Fury 1, and it was really challenging, actually. I found it pretty hard, so it might not be the right SNK fighting series for me, but we'll see. This was also a nostalgia purchase here. I grabbed Marvel Ultimate Alliance. I feel a little bit bad. One of those things I feel guilty about getting rid of is the X-Men Legends games. Those were fun, and I just got rid of them at one point, and I'm considering getting them back. I'm pretty sure that I was playing Ultimate Alliance on the PlayStation 3, but I was, picking up PlayStation 2 games, and I saw this for the PS2, and I just thought, heck, maybe I'll just grab that for old time's sake and see what it's like playing on the CRT. And yeah, I don't know, these games were just fun. It's really too bad when Ultimate Alliance 2 came out, maybe, or one of those just seemed really weird. It really was different and kind of took the graphics or the gameplay or something in a really different direction. And I don't know, we're not seeing any more of them, so I think that's too bad. But that style of game for the Marvel stuff is a lot of fun. So I wanted to just give that one another try. And speaking of giving things another try, this is a game that for whatever reason, I was really reluctant to get into. One of my friends was really into it, and I was just there was something about it that I just wasn't gravitating towards. That is Beautiful Joe. In retrospect here, I'm kind of looking at it, and I'm like, I should give this game a chance. People have liked it for a long time. It's kind of that, 2.5D sort of style gameplay. And it seems fun and quirky, and I don't think I gave this a fair shake back in the day. And I actually played this just last night, and it was fun. I liked it. I think it helped that I started thinking of it as if, what if this were on the Dreamcast? Capcom was doing a lot of stuff with the Dreamcast, and for all I know, had the Dreamcast kind of stayed in the game and held in there, this might have been one of those kind of quirky Dreamcast games instead of, a PS2 or a GameCube game. So, thinking about it like that, I really was giving it a fair shake, and it was fun. I really liked it. So I'm glad I decided to give Beautiful Joe a second chance. And the last one I found, I just saw this in the case, and I thought, this looks like it has all of the elements of something that I might really like. It's published by Jellico. It has some anime looking characters on the cover, and aside from that, I have heard nothing about it, never seen it before, did not know what it was. That is, it also has shooting in the title, Extreme Shooting Vanarch. You can see maybe the thing there, it was $20, and, that seems like a completely fair price. I didn't know much about it, so I was like, hey, let me take a look at that. And, I wanted to just kind of see what it was like, so I just checked out a review really quickly, looked for what it went for on eBay, kind of, watched a couple seconds of footage on YouTube from my tablet, and it seemed pretty cool. What it is a rail shooter, kind of like Panzer Dragoon, or Star Fox, or, something like that. But it also has kind of these, adventure cutscene, story mode segments that play just like Resident Evil. They kind of have those pre-rendered backgrounds, and you're walking around with your character. And unlike, what was it, shooting Space Shot there, that was really cheesy and really bad when it tried to do the story parts in between the shooting bits. This actually seems pretty cool. Maybe not amazing, but you know, the gameplay seems pretty fun, and it has that like cheesy quality to it that I really like. So I think this was a really great find to find out in the wild. I didn't know anything about this, and it seems like a really cool game. So really glad to grab that. So as I was driving back, I think in the same trip, I met one of my friends actually to go to a different store, but there was an old comic book store that we used to go to, this friend and I, back when we were in like middle school and high school, and it moved to a different location, and then I don't think they're around anymore. I'm actually not really sure, but anyway, the old building that they were in, we actually ended up meeting there in that parking lot, and it turned out that is now another retro game store. And come to find out, it's owned by the same guy that ran the game store that I used to go to a little bit closer to me. He sort of moved areas and owns the store. I don't think he owned the other one. And so it was cool. So I ran into him and chatted with him a little bit, and I picked up some games. So anyway, that out of the way. I grabbed Tecmo Stackers for the PlayStation also. This is cool. I've really been getting into puzzle games. I think I'm starting to realize that they're something that I'm really enjoying as I'm sort of exploring some more of these arcade style games. And this one is extremely combo driven. You're trying to chain combos together. That's how this works. But unlike some of these other games, I think it's relatively straightforward to make combos in this. So I enjoyed what I played of this. I mean, I just popped it in to check it out for a little bit, and it was pretty cool. So I think I'm going to enjoy that one, Tecmo Stackers. And while I was getting those Midway Arcade treasures, at the second place, I found the third one. Now, I'm a little disappointed because I didn't realize there is a cover for the first one that's in the same style as 2 and 3, and I just bought the other one because that's the only one that I saw that they had. So I may try to get the cover to match the other ones. I'm kind of a stickler like that, so we'll see. But still, really glad to have that whole series now. And I also picked up this one here, Valkyrie Profile 2 Slimeria. That sounds like, I don't know, where all of the Americans need to go for like a few weeks or something. But anyway, it's this is pretty neat. I popped it in. I don't know what it is about Valkyrie Profile. I feel like this came out maybe at some time when there was like a glut of this kind of stuff. Like maybe we really did get a little JRPG'd out in the PlayStation 2 era, even though I think it really is the best era for those kind of games. I remember I didn't really have much interest in the Valkyrie Profile games, and I just sort of let them go by. I now do have whatever the one is on the PSP, which I think may be the first one before this one. And anyway, I popped this in, and it was beautiful. Like just seeing the graphics of the beginning and the character models, the designs and everything, just really artful and great. And Square Enix here, I feel like this was kind of back when they, were like a little more themselves than they are now. And it just looks really neat. I have no idea if it's a good game or a fun game or if it's anything I'll like, but definitely just kind of nostalgic to see this. I think it's very beautiful, which is a big plus for me. And next up in the arcade compilations trend here, we have Capcom Classics Collection. This is another one that I have. I actually got the whole digital, whatever the version of this is, for the PlayStation 3, I think. Probably not PlayStation 4, I guess it was PlayStation 3. But again, doing a little research, there were some that they didn't release on that they had on here, so I thought that was worth it enough to spend, $6 to grab that while I saw it. So, really successful getting some stuff in the wild there. That's not something that I'm really used to. So, moving on, I grabbed a bunch of stuff online as well. Again, some of this was from trading some stuff in, and some of it was just some stuff that I grabbed. And yeah, I'm kind of continuing on with my sort of A1 games and Age Tech like releases of stuff in the Simple series. So, excuse me, I don't quite remember which of these are which in that, so I will try to make annotations so you guys can see, actually what games correspond to what. So just look for that when I'm talking about these. But first up is bowling. Now, I did try this out, and unfortunately this one was just slightly disappointing. I think it's really solid, but unlike some of the other games that I think just have kind of, you just have that little bit of quirky characters to it, like maybe just a character portrait or something that I think lends a little personality to it. You hear that it's just a bowling lane and bowling pins. But that said, I mean, it seems like a really competent bowling simulation, and I think this would have been really, really fun if it weren't for the fact that the little, you have I don't know what you want to call it. It's not even a power meter. It's just an accuracy thing that when you actually go to throw the ball, you get this little thing that moves back and forth, kind of at this speed, really. And you have to, like, hit it on a little line in the middle. And I just think it's too hard. It feels a little frustrating and just too hard to be consistent hitting that line, and it's too unforgiving when you miss it a little bit. Your ball really curves. In real life, I bowl a really straight ball, and I'm just used to being able to semi-consistently produce one of those, and I find it harder to do it in the game, which I think is kind of the wrong way around for that. Next up is billiards, and I have had a chance to play a little bit more pool recently, and I really liked this, actually. Just sort of, again, sort of a bare bones billiards simulation, but there's a bunch of different like play styles. I was playing 8-ball. There's like 9-ball, and there's several. There's like I think maybe 6 different modes, like games you can play. And there are different characters that you can compete against. They have different skill levels, and it's just it's fun. I really actually enjoyed this. I can see myself coming back to this and playing more of it. I mean, I think it helps. I've been playing it a little bit in real life, so I'm kind of like, oh yeah, how can I want to get a little bit better at figuring out what kind of shots I can do in what situations. So this was kind of surprisingly fun. I wasn't expecting to enjoy billiards quite so much. Next up is something that, I've talked about this before. I really miss the miniature golf mode in Hot Shots Golf. I do have the first one, and that does have that mode in it, so I can now play that. But I've always just thought that miniature golf would make such a good golf game. They ended up doing all these like pro golf, blah blah blah, and PGA Tour and Tiger Woods and stuff, but they don't have miniature golf games. Well, little did I know, we have putter golf, and this also is really cool. It's a miniature golf game. Maybe it's not like 100% of what I wanted from a miniature golf game, but I would say it's like 80 or 90%. It's pretty darn cool, and I can see myself really playing this a lot and having fun with it. I've been wanting a game like this forever, and I don't know, I wasn't like looking for it really, so just to kind of find this here, another one of those D3 kind of budget games. It's really cool. I would definitely recommend that you give that one a try. It's maybe doesn't have quite as much personality as like Hot Shots Golf or something, but the golf is solid and it's fun. Next up is Battle Hunter. Now this one I didn't really know what to expect. It almost looks like an RPG, but it isn't. It's interesting. I don't quite know if I have a complete feeling for it yet, so I don't know if it's like really going to be fun or if it's just going to be kind of like, well, it's interesting. But it's basically you kind of like dungeon dive and treasure hunt. You're pretty much going into a dungeon to try to find like certain items and then go sell them to like a shopkeeper. But each dungeon is sort of like, it's almost like you're playing a miniatures game against like 3 other friends, except they're all computer controlled. I don't know. You can play 1 to 4 players, so it's almost like a board game a little bit. You're just competing against the other players to kind of like win the dungeon and take some of your stuff and go sell it and then hop into a dungeon again. So I don't know if there's really like the longevity there on this for me, but it's very interesting, and I really want to check it out some more. Next up here is something strangely I've been trying to get here for a few weeks, and that is chess. Another one of those games, and I suck at chess. So, but I mean, really, I sort of feel like this just has that fun, like really Japanese. This feels like kind of a mahjong game almost, like, but a chess version of it. I don't know. Like, it has those, like, you can play it against a bunch of different random people, like, you know, an old lady, like a businessman, like a yakuza, an office lady, a little girl, you know, it's just, like, a bunch of different sort of normal characters, like some housewife or something. And, you know, again, they all have different skill levels, and so it lends that little bit of personality to it, and, you know, it's just nice. Like, the music's nice, I forgot to mention that about the billiards in particular, has really cool music. But, you know, this has nice music, it has nice graphics, and it just feels good. I started off, like, you play the little girl first, I think, because, or maybe you can choose it because she's the least skilled, and I got owned. Like, I have a strategic mind, you know, I do like these puzzle games and some of the stuff where you have to think a little bit, and I might be kind of good at chess, but I just don't have my head around the whole game. I start playing it with the pawns, you know, and I think I get that to a certain extent, but then, you know, it's about the king and the queen and all the other pieces, and it's just, I am not good at that game. Next up was something I took a chance on here. This is Hello Kitty Cube Frenzy. You can see here there's $1 tacked on there, and I wish I had spent $1 on it, but I spent a few dollars more than that, but not much. But, you know, I didn't mean to imply that it's awful or something. It's kind of decent. I haven't really figured out how I feel about it yet. I was expecting something a little more traditional, like versus puzzle style game, and it's not. It's interesting, and it may actually be pretty cool. I guess you can't really see it. So you have like Hello Kitty as a character on the screen, and there are little like items that she picks up. So she just walks along the screen back and forth like this. And then you have blocks that sort of fall down like this that you can then, I guess it's almost always sets of 2 blocks like this, or just 1 block by itself, or like a row of basically like 4 blocks all together. I guess sometimes they're straight like that. Anyway, so you can turn them and move them and put them together to make combos to make blocks disappear, but the whole thing you're doing is trying to build them up so that Hello Kitty can reach certain like items that might be, you know, up here or somewhere around, and you know, you're trying to make it so she can walk back and forth and like walk up to them. Meanwhile, so she's not like, there aren't really like pitfalls or anything like that, but it's kind of annoying. It's pretty easy to get yourself into a like a tough situation. So this was different than I was expecting, and it seemed pretty easy until you got partway through. And then I was on one level that was so hard I just gave up. I was like, alright. So, I mean, that's the sign of a pretty good puzzle game, I think, when, you know, it has enough challenge to kind of make you stop playing, but then kind of want to come back and play some more. So that one may be pretty good. Just not quite what I was anticipating. Similar verdict on Puzznic. Another puzzle game here that I picked up. And this one is not really by any of the usual suspects here. This is just a ZeniMax Media, I guess, that published. But this one's from Taito, and it's interesting. You know, again, this one is really deceptively simple. You start off with like basically a board that'll be just like this, and each of these things you can grab with a cursor and you can move, and then it'll fall. So you can't like hold it in midair, but you can move it around on anything that's solid, and you can move it out from something and let it fall down. And what you're trying to do is get like all the pieces cleared from the board. So each time you bring like, you know, one piece of one color to another piece of another color, it's going to disappear. And that can be any number of them. But if you put like 2 of them together, they'll disappear. If you can get 3 or 4 of them together, all of those will disappear. And you're trying to clear the whole board. So, you know, at first you're like, oh, well, this is easy. But it gets hard, and it's really pretty interesting. You know, my brain was going. It gets you thinking. I was almost stumped on one of them, and I was stumped on one eventually. I think I was just, you know, burnt out from playing it too long. But it was pretty darn fun. I think it does suffer from the same issue that Turnabout suffered from, is that, you know, once you solve each of these boards once, you've solved it. And if you remember what you did last time, it's not really going to be a challenge the next time. But what this has going for it, possibly, is it may have some longevity in the fact that it's just long. Each stage you have like 8 characters that you're playing against, and each character has like, I don't know, maybe like it's 5 or 10, maybe like different of these layouts that you have to play. And then it also sort of has a pyramid that you travel through, like when you're playing Bubble Bobble, or was it Bust a Move? And you know, so I don't know if that means that when you get to the end there's different endings, or if you follow sort of a different path through, you'd end up playing different boards. So there may be some replay value to this, and it's pretty cool what I played of it so far. So again, I guess, you know, my final verdict we'll have to see, but it was fun. Next up, another surprisingly fun one here. RC Helicopter Remote Control Simulation. This is exactly what it sounds like, a simulation of remote controlling a helicopter. I guess what I liked about this in particular is it does have like anime-styled characters, which is just always a plus for me. It just feels, at this point, kind of like natural and you know, familiar and fun. And then you also have like these little goals that you're doing with your helicopter, so you learn how to pilot it. And I think this is aided a bit by the fact that my brother actually got a remote control helicopter for Christmas this year. You know, he's the same age that I am. We're both adults. He's, you know, got another kid on the way, but he just wanted this for himself. You know, it interfaces with the smartphone. You know, so he's controlling it with his telephone, and it's just it was kind of cool. But I got to try it out, and I got to watch him fly it. So, you know, it's almost like I got to get a feeling in real life of what it's like to pilot one of these. And I feel like that enhanced my enjoyment of this game a bit. But anyway, the challenges seem fun. The first one is you have to like mow the lawn with the helicopter blades. You know, I assume that the other stuff is like things along those lines. So I don't know if it'll stay fun, but I liked what I played of it to start with. Next up is Ultimate Puzzle Action Tall Infinity. Another puzzle game, and another really promising looking one. This one was a little complicated, so I had to like go through the tutorial, and then I started playing it, and I was like, wow, it's tough. Essentially, you're building up a tower, and you're trying to get like the levels of the tower up a certain number of levels, while, you know, at the same time, this, I forget what they called it, some sort of boundary line is like crawling up behind you. It reminds me of Catherine in a way, in sort of how it puts pressure on you like that. But basically you're rolling these blocks around on the top of the tower. It's like a circular tower, and you're just trying to like chain colors together, and that'll make more blocks appear up. But it's hard. You have to make like a whole level of the tower each time, and make like, you know, 10 levels of it, and I was struggling with that. So we'll see. I don't know if I can get my head around that enough to play it and enjoy it, but it seems kind of cool. Next up, actually, I'm realizing I didn't try this one out, despite trying out all the other ones. Tetris Plus. This is a greatest hits version, and you know, I don't know if I really care if I'm going to try to get a black label or not on that one. But, you know, Tetris is one of those ones that I always thought was really cool on the NES. And this looks like they made it into a versus puzzle game in the same style as, like, Puyo Puyo or something like that. I mean, I almost think I might have seen, like, arcade versions that were like that, but I sort of forget. Anyway, I haven't tried this one out, but it's Tetris. It seems like a pretty cool version of it, so I'm looking forward to playing that. And last up for the PlayStation 1 games. Oh, actually, no, that's not even true. A couple more PlayStation 1 games here. I grabbed this one here, board game Top Shop. So Top Shop, this is a a board game, as it says. It's essentially Monopoly, but it's not Monopoly. It's a similar kind of thing where you start off with this, like, essentially like a mall. That's all, all the shops are open. And you take turns. It's a board game. You've got 4 people playing, and you can play with 4 real players. But of course, I just tried it out, and I played against the computer. And you basically are trying to acquire as many shops as you can in this thing. But each shop has a certain stock of items, and if you can buy out all the items in the shop, then that shop, when it's out of stock, it's available to be purchased by someone else. So you can buy up to 2 items at a time, and the stores by default can hold 4 items. No, 3 items. Sorry. So it's interesting. There's a little bit of strategy in that, in terms of like buying the items and from other people's stores and shops and trying to get them so that you can buy them out. And when you land on one of your own shops, you can like restock your shops so they're not in danger of being bought out. And you can open up shops consecutively next to each other, and it'll kind of like level up the shop, so you'll have, like, if you have two shops or 3 or 4 in one row, you can hold more items, you can sell more expensive items, which then makes it a little bit harder for you to be bought out. And it's weird. It's definitely really quirky. The game I was playing was going for so long, kind of like this video, but it's just how this is going to be. But it was kind of fun, but I started to just not care after a while because the game was going on so long. I don't know if this is one that's going to be really fun. I was expecting, I guess I was expecting this to be quite enjoyable because it sounded like people that had played it before were sort of like, oh, this is sort of cool. But it is sort of cool. I just don't know that it's really cool. We'll find out, I guess, if I play it some more, what I think of it. I think one of my main complaints is that when you're watching the other players' turns, it doesn't feel like there's enough that can happen on their turns that's going to be good for you, that it really makes you enjoy watching it. It's more of like you're just sort of dreading, like, oh, come on, they're going to take my store, and then you get to your turn, and that's when you can affect some things in your favor. So I don't know if that's as compelling as it could be, but it's kind of neat. Next is something that you guys may have seen in my last video, In the Hunt. This is I have confirmed a game that's by the developers that went on to do the Metal Slug series, and it's a shooter. It's essentially like a shmup underwater with submarines with the graphics from Metal Slug. So it's awesome. If you guys want to see what this looks like, just I put just a couple screenshots in my last video so you guys can check it out. When I played this, it's hard. But hopefully I may just end up beating it. I guess maybe I'll talk a little bit more about that in a sec. But I haven't actually sat down to really like give it a good try and try to just get through it. But what I played, I just, even though it was tough, I enjoyed it because it's just so beautiful looking and fun and surprising. Just playing through it and seeing what the levels look like and stuff. It's very cool. And next is another shooter, kind of a like 3/4 perspective, called Viewpoint. This is one that was also, I think, I may be incorrect about this, but I kind of think this was a Neo Geo game originally, and this is a PlayStation port, or maybe it was an arcade game, and it came out on the Neo Geo, and also on, somehow I think that this one appeared on Neo Geo. I think that's how I ran across it, but if I'm wrong about that, I'll have a huge warning up here saying I'm an idiot. Suffice to say that this is hard. I played the first level and I was just getting annihilated. So we'll see if I, can play this more and get good at it all. But really, it seems pretty darn cool. It looks nice, and the soundtrack seems pretty neat too. It reminds me of back, when these CD games were new, and it just, I don't know, you had that fun 90s techno that they'd put into everything because they could, since it was on CD. It was fun. Next up, what I was leading up to here is Metal Slug Anthology. I sat down and played this last night. Actually, I beat Metal Slug 1 and 2. And, don't make that sound like I'm good at these games or anything. It's just a matter of like pumping quarters in, because it's free play, so you can just crank quarters in as much as you want. You can be really bad at this and still get through them. So that was fun, though. It was really neat. I mean, my thumb actually hurts. I haven't really been playing games much today from like going. But I need a turbo, like PlayStation 2 controller or something. But I just really liked playing these again, and just because the graphics really they're so quirky and so fun. The animation is so good in them, and it reminded me that I really have played these games before and have some fond memories with them. It's easy to forget sometimes, but playing through Metal Slug 1 and 2 and 3, I realized, I'm like, oh yeah, there was like that one pizza place where I totally remember playing Metal Slug 2 in particular, because I remember what these enemies looked like. And then I'm like, oh, is this that one that has those weird crab enemies at the beginning? Oh yeah, I have obviously played this one before, and it was just I remember checking these out, and I always thought they were neat. So it was really, really fun to play through those again, and that's why I'm hopeful that playing through In the Hunt is not going to be impossible for me. So considering all these great things that I found in the wild and these other things that I've picked up, I'm getting into these arcade collections and just going, It seems like a great way to it seems like a great way to like try some of this stuff out. I guess, for one, because these PlayStation 2 games are pretty cheap, so you're already getting the game cheaply, and then if you're getting like 4 or 5 games on it, the chances you're gonna like one of them is a little higher, I think, when there's multiples. But I'm starting to think that this might be a really good way to have some of those more like middle tier games on newer systems. I mean, I think we're finding that they are doing some collections, or maybe considering doing some collections. The HD remaster Metal Gear Solid collection or something like that. That kind of thing, or how we get like Final Fantasy X and X-2. And maybe it doesn't really work for new games when you do it like that. I guess maybe they have to be older games, but I don't know. I'd like to see, some way to have, some of these games that aren't all like big AAA stuff, still be kind of relevant. And anyway, these collections seem like one way to do that. I picked up Street Fighter Alpha Anthology. Street Fighter Alpha is one of those series that I basically didn't get into at all. I've barely played a Street Fighter Alpha game. I don't know why, but I think at that point probably Street Fighter was either already getting to the point where it was getting a little too hardcore for me, or I just had completely lost interest in fighting games right around the time when that started. I don't know which that was, but I was like, let me give it a chance. Let me give it a try. I mean, this is cheap, and it's got like Alpha, Alpha 2, Alpha 3, Alpha 2 Gold, and actually the coolest thing, I didn't even realize that it had this Super Gem Fighter Mini Mix, aka Pocket Fighter, which I was almost considering just getting straight out on the PlayStation 1. But you may have remembered me mentioning it, that I wasn't super keen on it back in the day, but just getting it in this collection, I'm like, all right, I'm gonna I'll try it out again. It's just really curious to know if I can get into these. Maybe the Alpha series is actually something that would be just perfect for me, that that I would really enjoy. So I wanted to try it out. Pretty much the same with all of these. I grabbed Neo Geo Battle Coliseum. I don't know much about this other than that it seems like, in the same way that you have like SNK versus Capcom, where maybe it just had a bunch of characters from different fighting game franchises, or King of Fighters, which I think was a mixture of stuff from like Fatal Fury and Art of Fighting and maybe World Heroes and stuff. This is another one of those, just like let's mash everything together. 40 characters actually, including from Metal Slug, which is sort of cool, Samurai Showdown, etc., etc. So that just seemed like a fun game. There's also, to complement my original Fatal Fury collection, Volume 1, this is Battle Archives Volume 2, which has Real Bout, Fatal Fury, Real Bout, Fatal Fury Special, and Real Bout 2, The Newcomers. And lastly, in the PlayStation 2 games, Art of Fighting Anthology. You know, another one of those ones where I know these characters from King of Fighters, but not so much from Art of Fighting. We've got, which I don't even know if I remember who all these characters are, but definitely I recognize some of these people. So, really curious to just sort of dive back into those games and check them out. And, you know, this seems like a pretty harmless way to do that. I could always resell, you know, one or two of these if I didn't like them. And, yeah, anyway, those are my pickups. So, next, that's not all of my pickups. I bought an Xbox system from one of my friends. Now, I don't know if you've had this experience of rebuying something, but something about it is extremely... It almost feels shameful to me, you know. It's sort of like, oh man, you know, I'm getting... It's like, you know, you got rid of it at one point, so like, why are you getting it back? But, you know, I think it's legitimate, you know, because you do the thing that's right for you at the time. So at the time, you know, getting rid of something, it can be the right thing. At another time, getting that thing again could be the right thing, you know? And in this case, I really think that it is. So back here, if I can point to it, there we go. There is an Xbox system. You see the little green ring there. And yeah, you know, I just picked it up from my friend. He didn't want his anymore. And I grabbed the games that he had too. He sort of just threw them into the bundle. One of them is actually one of my old games. He had Jade Empire, which is a very interesting game. This is by BioWare. I was really interested in this when it came out, and I used to have a really nice original Xbox collection. So, I had that and Scrapland. This is one from my original Xbox collection that I kept for a really long time, but I ended up selling it to that friend because, you know, or just giving it to him or something, so I didn't need it, because I didn't have an Xbox and wasn't planning to get one again. So it has come back to me. And this is just one. It's American McGee. So American McGee presents Scrapland. I just always thought this seemed like the most unique, interesting sort of premise for a game. You know, you're playing as this robot guy in this robot world. And, you know, it seems just kind of quirky and maybe a little gritty and just interesting. And I've wanted to play this for a long time, so I'm kind of happy to have this back, actually. And I think what kicked this all off a bit, I guess it's behind me here, so, is I did have Shenmue 2 for the Xbox. Now, this is kind of cool. This is one from the Microsoft employee store or something like that, a Microsoft company store purchase. So, I think that's cool. It's a little bit of like history to this. You know, I love Shenmue, and I wanted to play this. I never beat this game. I bought it day one. I pre-ordered it, and you know, I started playing it and it was fun, but I just never finished it. So I've been wanting to go back to this forever, and I could get the PAL Dreamcast version. In fact, I may. But as long as I had this, you know, I sort of repurchased that. I just figured, you know, I'll get the Xbox and I'll re-get just a handful of games from my collection that I really enjoyed. Now, in addition to that, I decided to go ahead with what I'd been talking about a bit and think of it as a continuation of the Dreamcast in terms of the stuff that Sega released for it. So, I guess first, one of the things I re-got that I always kind of liked, sort of like Scrapland, is Enclave. I don't know what it is about this, but I always just thought it seemed like a really cool sort of like action RPG in a sort of like a Western action RPG sense. I don't know. I always liked this game. It was just sort of quirky and had a little bit of puzzle solving to it. I don't know if it's even really any good, but I always liked it, so I wanted to grab it again. And so then I grabbed some Sega games. You know, one big one, first one off the bat here, Panzer Dragoon Orta. this is something, and the rest of these here are really things that I think were slated for the Dreamcast, and when it got the axe, ended up getting ported over to some other systems, the Xbox being one of them. I don't really almost consider this an Xbox game. I consider this a Dreamcast game, and in that respect, I think it it makes perfect sense for me to have this and to get these games. I think it's kind of an extension of my Dreamcast collection, and I feel a little bit silly for not taking the plunge and doing that to start with. Another one I grabbed is Toe Jam and Earl 3. I have to admit, I really never played the Toe Jam and Earl games before, so this, I guess, is going to be my first exposure to it. I have no idea if this is going to be something I like, but, again, this one I read specifically, this was the Dreamcast version that they then, got working on the Xbox. So, that really literally has its roots in the Dreamcast. Next up, I grabbed Sega GT 2002 and Jet Set Radio Future. Again, these are directly, from Jet Grind Radio and Sega GT on the Dreamcast. So that's, that legacy continued on. And the other one I got here was Crazy Taxi 3, High Roller. I don't know that I even knew that they ever made a third Crazy Taxi. Crazy Taxi is one of those things I don't think needs a whole lot of sequels. The first one was great. They made a second one. Did they really need a third one? Probably not. But just the fact that this exists, I think, is cool. So I'm really interested in checking that out. The last one I grabbed for that is something called Iron Phoenix. Now, this was published by Sega. I almost think it says Sammy on here also, and I almost thought I read that this was like a Chinese developer or something like that. I could be wrong. Maybe it's just because the storyline is kind of Chinese-based. I kind of regret picking this up, and also I'm really ticked off because the seller put this on half in very good condition, and it doesn't have a manual. So that's against the the listing policies for like that condition. So I'm filing a claim with them, and et cetera, et cetera. I'm probably actually just going to get rid of this game because I popped it in and I didn't really like it, but we'll see. I don't know if I really want my Sega published Xbox games collection complete or something. Maybe I'll have a copy of that in it. But anyway, I'm actually really glad to have grabbed those Xbox games, and yeah, I think those will be fun to check out. Getting down to the end here, finally, we have one PSP pickup, Metal Gear Solid Portable Ops. I'm just trying to fill in my Metal Gear Solid here, getting the PSP versions. I still need to keep going on the series. I think maybe like my bucket list game for the beginning of this year is going to be Metal Gear Solid 2. I really have to sit down and play that. So I will feel good if I can start in on those and actually get somewhere, because the Metal Gear Solid series seems really cool. Also, in the wild pickup here, I swung by like a video store that just happened to be, they said video games for sale right on their door, and they happened to be having a sale. They only had like basically stuff that was previous rentals, so it was all kind of newer stuff. But they were doing a half off sale that day, and they had this for $20. So I picked it up for $10, which is a great deal, and I've been meaning to get it forever. That's Asura's Wrath. Everybody that I follow on YouTube who's said anything about this has had great things to say about it. Pretty much anything I've heard about it anywhere has had good things to say, and it seems like the kind of thing that's right up my alley. So, in a way, I feel guilty for not having gotten this ahead of now anyway. But anyway, I went ahead and picked that up, so now I have it. Now I got a really good deal too, so that was good. And finally here, the one new PS4 game that I got is, of course, Dragon Age Inquisition. Dragon Age Origin was essentially my game of the generation last gen. Despite liking Japanese games, despite everything, I do have a really soft spot for Western RPGs, and I just thought Dragon Age was so good, and it kept that BioWare legacy, you know, going. I think the way that I really wanted it to, and it was unique, and it was just a wonderful game. So, you know, after Dragon Age 2, I kind of wanted to just see what people had to say about this, but you know, it's another one of those things. All my friends have it. Everybody's saying good things about it, so I just couldn't not get this. So I wasn't necessarily planning on getting it right now, but my friend actually got one, and then anyway, this is his copy of it that I ended up buying. It's kind of a long story, but yeah. So Dragon Age Inquisition, I haven't even put this in, so I don't know what it looks like. I don't know how it plays. I don't actually want to play it right now until, you know, I feel like I have time that isn't going to get sucked away from things that are more important, and I don't know if I'm really into that kind of a game right now either. So anyway, I'm really glad to have that, though. I'm excited to play it. I want to savor it and enjoy it, you know, kind of like a good book, like a new book in a series that you really enjoyed. You know, you're a little apprehensive, but you're looking forward to it, and you're planning to, like, just take your time with it and you know, take in all that it has to offer. That's how I feel about Dragon Age Inquisition. So that was my really huge pickups video. This is like an hour, so I'll probably post this like this, so I hope that you guys made it through that, and it was kind of enjoyable. You know, you can see here that I just, I've really been going nuts getting this stuff, and, you know, I'm really liking these arcade-style games, and just getting some of these PlayStation 1 and PS2 games while you still can. So that's my thing right now, and I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you'll join me again for more anime and video game-related videos. Thanks for watching.